My mom told me I'd be supporting my divorced sister from now on, but I was done being the family wallet. Hi, I'm Eli, 34, and last New Year's dinner was the night my family stopped pretending love and control were the same thing. It started with my mom setting the table like it was a magazine shoot for people who argue between bites. She had the candles, the paper crowns, the good plates Aunt Trudy gave her back in '89. My dad had the game on mute, pretending not to listen to anyone. My sister, Naomi, sat at the end with her 2 kids, one coloring on a napkin, the other eating pretzels like they were gold coins. I walked in straight from the mine, still wearing the jacket that smells like rock and metal dust, the kind that never really washes out. You're tracking in half the county, Mom said, like mud was a moral failing. Evening to you too, I said, heading to wash up. The kitchen smelled like cabbage rolls and cheap champagne sweating in a bucket of melting ice. We didn't do fancy holidays, just folding tables, mismatched forks, and conversation that cut more than it comforted. Mom fussed while I carved the roast. Thinner, she said. People are watching their figures. She meant herself, then took the first thick slice and hid it under lettuce. Dinner was quiet. That loaded quiet where everyone keeps count of old slights. Dad asked about the union meeting he never goes to. Naomi scrolled on her phone like she was allergic to eye contact. Then Mom cleared her throat. She does that before she drops a decree, like she's the queen of our small, sagging kingdom. Eli, she said, your sister's divorced now. You'll be supporting her and the kids. Simple as that. I thought I misheard her. The candlelight flickered across her smile, calm, certain, cruel. Dad didn't even look at me when he added, if you disagree, the door's right there. And for once, I didn't swallow it. I didn't nod or joke it off. I felt something cold and deliberate climb my spine, steady as a ladder. I put my napkin down and said, perfect. I'm gone. You can start paying your own mortgage. Simple as that. The words hit the table like drop tools. Naomi blinked. Mom smiled, that slow, dangerous smile that always came before she dug up my teenage mistakes. But I didn't flinch. I'd been the reliable one my whole life, the one who fixed, lifted, and didn't complain. I'd spent years thinking that made me good. Turns out, it just made me convenient. And that night, I decided I was done being convenient. The silence that followed could have cracked the plates. Dad cleared his throat, heavy and deliberate, like he was revving up for one of his speeches. Mom folded her napkin slow, eyes locked on me. Naomi kept her gaze on her kids, pretending she hadn't just been offered me as a financial plan with legs. Don't start this, Dad said finally, voice calm but packed with warning. We're family. Families step up. Families ask? I said. They don't assign. Mom leaned forward, elbows on the table like a lawyer cross-examining her own son. Eli, you know your sister's been through hell. Those babies need stability. They need a roof, not a hostage. I said. Dad's jaw worked. Watch your tone. No, I said. Watch your expectations. It was the first time in years I didn't soften my words to fit their comfort. The first time I realized the room had rules I'd never agreed to, unspoken ones, built on guilt, rehearsed for decades. See, I was always the good son. The steady one. The one who carried and patched and didn't ask for help because asking was weakness. I started at the mine the summer I turned 19. If you didn't go to college, you went down or you left town. I went down. Learned to tell what kind of rock would hold, what kind would fall. Learned how to breathe through the weight. That's what my life became, pressure management. Even when the pressure came from my own family. When Dad's back gave out, I came home. Fixed the porch, paid the bills he forgot. Told myself I was being a good man. When Naomi's marriage cracked, I covered daycare. Just until the check cleared. Then it was a car repair. Then it was groceries. Then it was normal. Mom called it helping. I called it surviving, peacekeeping. At work, underground, things made sense. You knew what could crush you. You knew when to get out of the way. But above ground? The danger smiled and said it loved you. That night at the table, it hit me I'd been living under emotional rockfall for years. And the only way out wasn't to brace. It was to walk. I glanced around that room, the candlelight flickering against the wallpaper, the good dishes from a wedding that outlasted love, and realized something wild. They didn't see me anymore. Just a function. A paycheck with boots. I took a breath. You've got my answer, I said quietly. And it's final. Mom laughed once, sharp, brittle. You'll regret this. Maybe. I said, standing. But it'll be my regret. Not yours. I left my napkin folded neatly beside my plate. Because even when you walk away, you can do it clean. The cold hit me first when I stepped out onto the porch, sharp, sober air that cut through the heat still buzzing under my skin. Inside, I could hear Mom's voice rising, Dad's chair scrape, Naomi whispering something tight. I didn't look back. I drove home with my jaw locked, one hand on the wheel, the other on the gearshift like it was holding me steady. The town was quiet. Most porches were dark except the ones with leftover Christmas lights still blinking, stubborn as hope. My apartment was small, one bedroom, furniture half from yard sales, half from patients. It was mine. And for the first time, that word meant something. I sat at the table, still in my jacket, and laughed once the dry, surprised kind that sounds like it belongs to someone else. Then I opened my mail. Bad habit, I do it when I can't sleep. There was a thick envelope with a bank logo I didn't recognize. Inside. Welcome to your home equity line of credit. Only problem? I didn't own a home. I stared at it, slow realization crawling up my arms. My parents' address. My name. My forged signature. I read the sentence 3 times before I let myself breathe. The next morning, I spent my entire lunch break on hold, fluorescent lights humming over me. When I finally reached a human voice, I asked for copies of the signed documents. The rep said, "Sir, are you saying someone added you without consent?" "Seems that way," I said. Dad called that night. "It's just paperwork, Eli. A technical thing. We're consolidating." "You forged my name," I said. "It's family business," he said, like that made it sacred. "Names don't mean much. We'll pay it down together." "You already said I don't have a say," I replied. He laughed, that slow, dismissive kind that had ended every argument since I was 12. "You always were dramatic. You'll thank me when the rate drops." I hung up. I didn't trust my voice to survive another sentence. That's when it clicked. They hadn't just used my money. They'd used me. At work that week, I couldn't focus. The hum of drills, the thud of boots, it all blurred. I kept seeing that line, "You are jointly responsible for this loan." Responsibility. The word they'd wrapped around my neck since I was old enough to carry groceries. I knew then that dinner wasn't a moment. It was a message. I wasn't family, I was collateral. By Friday, I'd made my decision. If they wanted to treat me like a safety net, fine. I'd cut the ropes myself. I didn't sleep that weekend. I paced between my sink and the window, the kind of pacing where your brain chews on itself. Every instinct in me said to fix it quietly, to patch it like I always did, make it neat so no one had to face the mess. But something in me had snapped clean. Monday morning, I walked into the mine office early before the first shift even clocked in and used the fax machine to send copies of that forged loan paperwork to the bank's fraud department. I didn't even tremble. My buddy Mark came in halfway through and raised an eyebrow. "Family trouble?" he asked. "Family tradition," I said. When I got home that night, there were 3 missed calls from Dad, 2 from Mom, and a voicemail that started with, "How dare you?" and ended with, "We raised you better." The middle part was mostly static and fury. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my green binder, the ugly one where I track every bill, every shift, every dollar earned and lost, and wrote in neat block letters on a new tab, "Boundaries." Under it, I scribbled one rule: stop paying for peace that costs your soul. The next few days blurred into arguments that never landed. Mom called saying, "You don't understand pressure. We're drowning." "I do understand," I said. "I've just stopped volunteering to be the lifeboat." Dad's tone turned from guilt to authority. "You think you can just walk out? If you disagree, the door's right there. That line works better before someone already walks through it." I told him. By the weekend, they stopped calling. That was worse somehow, the silence, the waiting for another blow. Then Naomi texted, "Can we talk? Mom's saying you're suing them." I called her immediately. "I'm not suing. I'm protecting myself." "Same thing to her," she said softly. "You know she can't stand losing control." "She already lost it," I said. There was a long pause, just the faint sound of her kids arguing in the background. "She's scared," Naomi said finally. "I am too." "I get that," I said. "But fear's not a free pass to commit fraud." She laughed through a sniffle. "You always were the practical one." "No," I said. "I just learned that love without limits turns into leverage." That night, for the first time in months, I didn't double-check my bank app before bed. I just turned my phone face down, stared at the ceiling, and realized something wild. Peace doesn't make noise. It just hums, steady and low, like the mine when the air's right. And for the first time, I could breathe. By the time February hit, the quiet had teeth. The kind that doesn't bite, just waits. I still caught myself checking my phone at lunch like an old habit, expecting guilt in the form of missed calls. Instead, nothing. Freedom feels strange when you've spent your whole life mistaking exhaustion for duty. Then Mom showed up. No warning. No text. Just a knock and the soft rhythm of her guilt behind the door. When I opened it, she was holding a cake box like a peace treaty. "You look thin," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invite. Her eyes swept over my apartment, the bare walls, the second-hand table, the single plant surviving out of spite. "This place is depressing." "It's mine," I said. She set the cake down with the gravity of a funeral urn. "You can't mean this, Eli. You can't mean to abandon your family at a time like this. Your sister's drowning, your father's worried about Dad," I said, finishing it for her. She blinked, thrown off script. "I just don't understand you anymore." "You never tried to," I said. She reached for tears next. "After everything we did for you." "Mom," I said gently, "you fed me hamburger helper and reminded me of it for 20 years. That's not emotional credit. That's parenting." Her jaw tightened. "You're so dramatic." "No," I said. "I'm just done." That cracked her veneer. She grabbed the cake like it was part of her dignity and marched to the door. "This isn't over," she said. "I know," I replied. "It never is with you." When the door closed, I laughed. Not mean, not triumphant. Just tired. 2 nights later, Naomi showed up instead with a bag of laundry and 2 kids who tackled my couch like it was a trampoline. She stood there, arms crossed, eyes wet. "I'm sorry," she said. "For all of it. I shouldn't have let her talk to you like that." I nodded. "You were cornered. I get it." She looked around my place. "She said you had savings. She said you were hoarding." "I have an emergency fund," I said. "It took 5 years. It's not for curtains." She laughed and cried all at once. God, I hate her curtains. We sat at the table while the kids built towers out of Legos. I opened my binder and showed her a spreadsheet, simple, color-coded, no shame attached. "You don't have to fix everything today," I said. "You just have to stop letting Mom plan your money." Naomi exhaled, shaky but real. "I don't know how to say no to her." "Practice on me," I said. She met my eyes. "No, Eli. You're not paying my phone bill anymore." I smiled. "Good start." Naomi practiced saying no, like it was a new language. The next day, she texted Mom a simple message: "I'll handle my groceries. Please don't send lists." Mom replied with a novel. Words like sacrifice, respect, and we do for each other poured out in a single breathless paragraph. Naomi didn't answer. The silence lasted a day before Mom sent a picture of her empty fridge captioned, "Guess we'll go hungry." Naomi muted the chat. I nearly cheered. At work that week, the guys noticed I was quieter, lighter somehow. "You look like a man who finally changed his oil," Mark said, handing me a coffee. "Better," I told him. I changed my boundaries. By mid-February, I started eating decent food again, real meals instead of vending machine dinners. I stopped covering double shifts for other people's emergencies. When Ricky asked if I could swap so he could go fishing, I said, "Can't, man." "Got plans? Big ones?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Rest." That weekend, Dad called. "Your mother's upset." "She often is," I said. He sighed. "You can't just walk away like this. We need you." "No," I said. "You want me. There's a difference." "Same thing," he snapped. "Not anymore." He hung up. 10 minutes later, he texted a picture of a shut-off notice for the power bill. "Hope this makes you happy." I replied with a screenshot of the bank document showing his forged signature circled in red. "Call the bank." 2 hours later, another text, "Never mind." Sorted. Translation: he guilt-tripped a cousin into helping. I slept fine that night. A week later, Naomi came by again, kids in tow, faces pink from the cold. She handed me a flyer from the community college evening classes in medical coding. "Do you think I could do this?" she asked. Yes, I said without hesitation. I'll cover the first class. You pay me back when you get a job. We'll write it down so Mom can't call it a family gift. She laughed through a sniffle. You and your ledgers. Ledgers keep the world honest, I said. Vibes are how we got here. She nodded. You know what's weird? The kids laugh more now. Even with less. That's because peace sounds different than pressure, I said. She smiled, soft but certain. Maybe we're both learning to breathe again. That night, I sat with my green binder open on the table and wrote under boundaries, don't mistake guilt for guidance. March rolled in with slush, noise, and a kind of quiet triumph I hadn't felt in years. The bank finally removed my name from the loan. 3 calls, 1 certified letter, and a conversation where I had to use the word misrepresentation like I was giving a seminar in self-respect. Dad didn't look at me for a week. Which was funny, considering he hadn't really looked at me in years. Mom sent me messages written like prophecies, you think you're winning now, but blood is thicker than pride. I didn't reply. Naomi texted me a photo of apples lined up on her counter like soldiers. Look at me, feeding wolves, she wrote. I sent back a wolf emoji and a picture of my binder. We attack. Work felt different too. The mind noise didn't fill my head anymore, it cleared it. I was still underground, still coated in dust and metal, but I wasn't carrying anyone else's debt down there. Then one morning at the break table, Mark said, You ever notice how we all got someone who thinks our paycheck is a community project? Yeah, I said, smiling. But I finally canceled my membership. He laughed so loud it echoed. By mid-March, Naomi had finished her first class 92%. She framed the grade report and sent me a photo. The kids were in the background, holding cereal boxes like trophies. I printed that picture and taped it inside my binder. Proof that boundaries don't destroy families. They rebuild the parts worth keeping. Easter came and went. Mom texted a photo of the dinner table without my plate. We kept it simple. No drama. I ate sandwiches on my porch. The sky was the color of clean slate. For once, I didn't feel guilty about eating alone. The quiet wasn't empty anymore. It was full of breathing, of rest, of things that belonged only to me. One night, Naomi asked me, When did you stop hoping they'd change? The day I realized I could. I said. She nodded, thoughtful. Mom told me you threatened to call the cops. I didn't threaten. I said. I prepared. She frowned, then smiled. You make preparation sound like freedom. It is, I said. Freedom with a paper trail. We laughed, that rare, real laugh that doesn't check who's listening. When she left, the kids waved from the back seat. Bye, Uncle Eli. We're wolves. Even better, I said. Stay wild. And as their taillights disappeared down my street, I realized something I'd missed for decades. Peace doesn't mean the world got quieter. It means I finally stopped apologizing for the sound of my own life. Spring came in slow and stubborn, the kind of thaw that makes mud out of everything before it turns the earth soft again. My morning started with coffee gone cold on purpose and the hum of quiet that didn't feel like loneliness anymore. I stopped expecting apologies from people who couldn't say sorry without conditions. Instead, I built a life small enough to manage and wide enough to breathe in. By April, the bank mess was officially closed. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, plain envelope, no fanfare. Your name has been successfully removed from the home equity line of credit. I sat on my steps and read it 3 times, tracing each word with my thumb like it might vanish. That piece of paper wasn't just a fix, it was proof I could rewrite the story. Mom sent a message that night. You've broken this family apart. I typed, I didn't break it. I just stopped holding it together by the edges. Then deleted it. I didn't send anything. Silence works better on people who feed on reaction. Dad tried a new tactic, nostalgia. Remember when I taught you to change your oil? You owe me for the years I gave you. I replied, I remember teaching myself on YouTube because you were at the bar. He read it, then didn't. That unread check mark felt like a window finally staying open after years of being stuck. Naomi was doing better. She'd started working part-time at a clinic. She was tired, but a different kind of tired, earned, not extracted. The kids called me one night on video. Uncle Eli, guess what? Mom got a paycheck. They were jumping on the couch like caffeine in sneakers. Naomi smiled behind them, a little shy, a little proud. We ordered pizza, she said. Didn't even use coupons. That's rebellion, I said. Delicious rebellion. When we hung up, I sat there staring at my ugly green binder, the one that used to feel like a weight, now looking like proof of survival. Inside was the copy of the forged paperwork, circled signature, and my note, police report drafted. I kept it there as a fossil, a reminder that even rock breaks when pressure gets high enough, and sometimes it breaks the right way. Mom still texts. Sometimes it's guilt. Do you even love us anymore? I answer only the honest questions. Yes. Enough not to let you use me. Dad pays his own mortgage now. He hates online banking, calls Excel that fancy calculator. I told him that's progress. He grunted something like agreement. We're not close, but we're clearer. That's a kind of love, too. Naomi passed her second module 95%. We celebrated with cheap movie tickets and the kids asleep on our shoulders halfway through the film. I didn't care how sticky the floor was or how bad the popcorn tasted. It felt like peace wearing ordinary clothes. There's no dramatic ending. No family hug or soft piano cue. Just slow, steady repair. A rhythm I can live with. On Sundays, I cook spaghetti. The kids come over sometimes. We eat at my small table, no fancy plates, just mismatched bowls that make the sauce look richer somehow. We laugh, we spill, we live. The last time, a noodle stuck to the ceiling, and we left it there like a flag. When they leave, the apartment goes quiet again, but not empty. I wash the dishes, look out the window at the dark mine entrance on the horizon, and think about how much of my life I spent underground, not just in the job, but in the habit of keeping peace by burying myself. I'm done with that now. I still go down every morning, still come home wearing dust like perfume. But the weight feels honest again. The earth presses the way it's supposed to, steady, predictable, respectful. When I climb back up and see daylight breaking through the elevator cage, it hits me every time. This is what freedom feels like when you've earned it the hard way. People think cutting ties is anger. It isn't. It's clarity. It's realizing the door's been open the whole time, and you finally trust your legs to walk through it. Mom will probably never understand. Dad might never admit he crossed lines. Naomi might still flinch when her phone rings. That's okay. We don't heal in sync. We just try not to make each other bleed while we learn. There's a plant on my window now, a scrappy little thing Naomi gave me. For your window light, she said. Because you finally have some. It grew a new leaf last week. Small, green, stubborn. That night, I opened my binder one more time. Next to the old pages, debt logs, overtime notes, and bank forms, I added a new section, future. Under it I wrote, trip, 1 week, no guilt. Save for better boots. Cash only Christmas. Rest when tired. Don't explain peace. I closed the binder, turned off the lights, and sat in the dark without feeling alone. You can love your family and still say no. You can be the one who leaves and still wish them warmth. You can stop paying for a seat at a table where you're the meal. My name is Eli. I go down. I come up. And I keep my peace. Not easy. Simple. Simple as that. Some mornings now, before the shift whistle blows, I stand at the mouth of the mine and look at the light cutting through the fog. I used to think daylight was something you earned only after surviving darkness. Now I know it's something you choose to walk toward, even when you're scared it'll burn your eyes. The air tastes cleaner these days. My hands still ache, my back still hums, but my chest finally feels like it belongs to me. I'm not a paycheck, not a plan, not the backup son with the strong shoulders. I'm just a man learning how to stay standing without apology. And that's enough.